Nasir, how are you seeing the market opening? Because the exit poll projections is what we saw yesterday in the market opening with the trends coming in. I mean, still really early in the day. I mean, I just want to put this out for everybody who's watching it. I know, like, you'll see multiple TV screens and others where you'll see trends coming in. Let's try and understand how this process, it's a very lengthy process. You have postal ballots and you have EVMs and you have multiple rounds of counting. So any trends that you see by 9:30 showing 200, 300, I think we should just hold our horses, because let's understand the process of how these votes are counted in a country like India, multiple rounds, postal ballots and EVMs. So should we read too much into the market opening already?
So, my fellow panelists in Ridhima, I think the number that you need to watch out for is the Uttar Pradesh number. I also come from Uttar Pradesh, incidentally, so I can tell you something. I don't want to get into the politics of this, Ridhima, but you have to see those numbers, okay? 39 trailing for BJP, 38 to the Congress and the SP.
Yeah.
And that is a big number. Now, I'll tell you something. I didn't want to believe those numbers until they're out, but I've been told. I mean, because as part of market intelligence, we talk to people, in our own state, and that could be a bit of a, it's a sense of worry that will be evident now in the markets as well, because UP and Maharashtra, Ridhima, contribute to 80 plus 48, 128 seats. Right, I'm waiting to see Maharashtra's number. I don't know. I can't see it on my screen. If you can help us with the Maharashtra number, but UP number, Ridhima.
Yeah.
So here's the point. Here's the point. To come back to your original question, because we don't discuss politics on your show, right? The point is that yesterday, Ridhima, this was a market reaction because of the exit poll. The exit poll went out and gave the best case scenario of all global analysts. And the base case, which I still feel will hold, Ridhima, unless we're completely wrong, the base case is 300 to the BJP plus NDA. But the best case is a 370 number, which I think the market, loved, hugged, and did one of his bear hugs and stuck to, and which is why you saw the market reacting, Ridhima, to yesterday's numbers. But as we discussed this in the morning, around 10:30, 11, we'll have some kind of plateau that will happen all of a sudden. Obviously, the markets have come down a little lower, but interesting times. And I agree with Sonam that a lot of clients that we are an AMFI registered distributor. A lot of clients spoke to us in the morning yesterday, and
so we just have the Maharashtra number as well. I mean, as we said, it's really early in the day, but as you were rightly pointing out, Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra actually is going to be turning out to be very, very interesting. And if these are the states that the Indie bloc or the opposition manages to swing in their favor, then that number that we've been hearing from the likes of Rahul Gandhi and Mallikarjun Kharge, which is 295, I don't know if they'll be able to tally up to that big number. But Mithali, I want to bring you in as well. As I said, it's still early on. Despite the strong opening that the exit polls had given to the NDA at large of 350 plus, we're seeing markets open in the red. Should we read too much into it?
So I think Ridhima, I completely agree with my co-panelists. This is more of an event-based trading, of today. So this is not actually linked with the economic fundamentals of the country and the direction that we're taking. So this will be a fairly quick recovery after this week. And also, I do believe that whichever government forms and whichever form it takes, the economic policy continuity is something we can bank on. There are certain fundamental sectors in which investments, public sector investments, are very likely to continue. Of course, infrastructure and logistics is a very core pillar of that. Renewable energy, digital transformation, public sector led investments in these sectors will continue. The only change that we might see, with different governments coming in is also around social protection and, having more and more social schemes, which is not necessarily something that the markets will, overreact to and over criticize either, as long as our growth trajectory is continuing. And so at this point in time, I would say that from an economic policy perspective, a lot of certainty and continuity is expected in the next budget. And it will actually, continue a lot of the policies that have been going on. I actually don't expect very big bang reforms in the next budget.
Okay.
There will be announcements, of massive new schemes. But it will still take some time for the officials to come together and say, okay, how do we implement, those schemes? So the ideas may come, but the implementation may still take 6 to 8 months.
Sonam, I'm just looking at specific stocks. Nifty's hovering around that 22,900 levels, down about 1.5%. Sensex also down about 1.5%, hovering around that 75,000 levels. I'm looking at some big losers as well. Now, what is of interest to people who are watching us, people as an investor, whether early in the day or as a long term investor, is what should they do going forward? Is this a time that they should pull out, or should they have a wait and watch strategy?
No, I think, see, if you look at the movement that happened over the last couple of weeks and today, I think the most speculative movement that is happening is around, the PSU stocks, the defense railways, the Adani counters. I think those were the ones that rose the highest. Those are the ones that are correcting
Hmm.
the most, I think, in the beginning of the day. So I think that is, something that was built into the thing. I think, the actual growth of any government that comes into power will happen in the long term, right? And I think as
Hmm.
long as a clear mandate and the India's economic growth remains strong, right? I think manufacturing that has emerged as a strong pillar of our country. And then we talked about services sector. We would see a resurgence of IT soon, I hope, and so many other industries also growing. I think if the new government that comes in has a focus on, let's say, rural welfare, then you could see FMCG and the agriculture
Yeah.
sector also come up. So I think a lot of positives to look forward to. I think this is all speculative moments. So I got sort of little worried that I'm not invested into the PSU counters last week, but I think it is a little bit of speculation that was going on, right?
So I'm also, because we want to also wrap in a bit. So Nasir, I'm also looking at the early leads as of now.
Yeah.
Some of them already giving leads of upward of 500, and the NDA hovering around that 289 figure as of now, about 245 to the BJP, Indie block about 197 and 81 to the Congress, others 22. Still very early in the day, but just going by early leads, does it look like it's going to be far closer than what many had predicted?
I think it is going to be Ridhima. It's going to be far closer. I think if you see the base case is what it's looking like now, and I think, and honestly, I mean, I don't want to again sound political on your show, but look, a base case scenario is something which is good because it's a healthy check and balance, and
Yeah.
as long as the government is stable, you see, the bigger challenge is for all our investors, clients, all of us included. I mean, we all have our
Yeah.
SIPs, equity stocks, whatever, whatever, whatever. The point is that we need to have government. We need to have a government in the day which is stable. And look, nobody is saying that if Modi ji comes in at 300, स्टेबिलिटी नहीं होगी, स्टेबिलिटी होगी, आपका
हाँ,
काम भी चलता रहेगा और जमीन
हाँ,
पे जो अनाउंसमेंट्स हुई हैं बिग बैंग रिफॉर्म्स वो भी होंगी. So look,
हुँ,
the message is loud and clear. There will be some volatility which will be marred today and tomorrow if these trends hold. But I think the objective is I must congratulate our investors for the domestic participation that they've shown. I'm a very proud, what should I say, a person associated with the capital markets. I love my Indians because they've become mature. They've stuck to the markets. They hold on to their investments. There is lesser churn, and the FPIs need to be told that listen, India is
correct.
serious, boss. There is a China plus one strategy folding. Start coming to our country and start looking
Yeah.
at us more seriously.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I think
Final
that is the
words
message.
from Mitali and Sonam. Two big directions that you would want to see post these elections as we move towards the budget and even at large as far as the direction for India is concerned. Sonam first.
No, I would just really hope that the growth that Indian economy is seeing continues, the resurgence of the manufacturing segment, which is, strengthening the whole economy and giving us such wonderful opportunities to invest, right? I think that continues. I would also hope that the recovery in the rural segment happens. There's some welfare that happens, right? Irrespective of who comes in. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're all very positive about the growth of Indian economy. And I think that is the bigger story compared to any election results, right?
Okay. Mitali, final words.
So I think, Ridhima, there are two things that we've been talking about since our first budget show.
Yeah.
So the first thing is jobs, right? We need to have more of a focus on job creation across the country, because if we don't create jobs and we don't create that decentralized wealth, then the participants in our equity markets will also be
Hmm.
quite less, right? So we really need to start thinking about good jobs, manufacturing jobs, service sector jobs, not only offshoring jobs in an IT sector, but how can we have innovation in the Indian economy, especially in tech, R&D, finance products, and manufacturing to create a massive scale of jobs in the next 10 years. The second thing we have to think about, and we have to think about more, is climate change. It's going to impact labor productivity. It's going to impact every single sector. It's going to impact agricultural yields. So at the end of the day, if we are not investing in climate resilient infrastructure and we're not investing in, heat wave management, in disaster management, in management of resources, we're going to face economic losses. So I think
Yeah.
on both of these areas, we need fundamental amount of work that now
Hmm.
needs to begin. Elections are over. We are all ready. We've had a break. It's time for us to start visiting the offices again and doing this.
I agree. I agree with Mitali that, now that the elections are done and in a couple of hours, you'll pretty much have a clear picture of which way this is going to be. If this is going to be the Modi government 3.0, that is exactly what the market and the policy makers would be expecting, because in that sense, it brings a stability. Then what we will be watching out for the next big event will be the full budget that will be presented by this new government in terms of the policy and the announcements, in terms of a framework for the next few years. As of now, as we said, market giving and opening in the red, Sensex and Nifty down about 1% to 1.5%. So we'll still have to see a couple of hours to see how this stabilizes. Still very early in the day, leads still coming in. 543 seats is what we've seen over the last 7 phases of this really, really long election. Unfortunately, I will have to leave it there. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to all our guests, Nasir, Mitali, as well as Sonam. We'd love to connect with you through the course of the closing of the market in the end of the day to understand what's really happened. But it's been a pleasure chatting with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.